Hello, I'm Alan Parry. I'm the author of How to Remove Trauma Response, a memory reconsolidation guidebook for therapists and coaches. And what a lot of people ask me as the author of that book is the various use cases, like how can you use memory reconsolidation? In what situations will this bring a benefit? What I'm going to look at today, very briefly, is something that's come up an awful lot within the Coaching Academy, the Memory Reconsolidation Coaching Academy that I run, and has also come up this month within my lower level trauma removal club as well, both in terms of a discussion on the discussion forum, but also in terms of it's the topic of our latest deep dive this month, where I go into this in some depth. Now, in terms of use cases, people are often asking about that because they're wanting to know, obviously, what impact memory reconsolidation can make. Now, memory reconsolidation is the brain's own inbuilt natural mechanism for overwriting trauma response or emotional learning, or the predictions, basically, that our nervous systems respond to. So when people say trauma is held in the body, what they're really meaning there is that our nervous systems are responding to these kind of limbic system implicit learning predictions that still play out today. Now, the thing about memory reconsolidation and trauma, I use a very wide definition of trauma. I use a definition which is as wide as the mechanism operates on. So according to the mechanism of memory reconsolidation, it doesn't need for things to be a big T trauma. It's really any emotional learning that's held in that implicit limbic system part of the brain. And so what I'm always focused on is not so much the size of the T, but the size of the I, which is the impact. So my definition is any psychological injury that still touches life today. And it might be something that looks small on the outset, but the impact has been big. And by the same token, some people have quite a big trauma and it's not really touched their life in a big way. So I'm always more focused on the impact. And I say that just to set it up to emphasize, I suppose, that what we're dealing with here is a brain mechanism which doesn't just deal with big trauma, but which deals with a whole range of emotional learning. Anything basically where the brain is predicting, if I allow myself to do that, then I'm going to get some bad outcome. And that's why the nervous system responds when it's in a situation where it thinks that you're at risk of getting suffering. The nervous system powers up. And so there's a whole wide range of uses. And it makes sense, of course, that relationship difficulties are part of those, a big part of those, in fact. If you think of watching any couple having an argument, for instance, or if you've ever been in a situation like that yourself, you'll know that you'll be able to see that the nervous system is really activated. It's as though that person or yourself, if it's been you, are under a great deal of threat in that moment. And your nervous system is activating in that way, taking over in many ways in order to try and protect you from a threat. And that sense of a threat will come from a prediction, which may or may not be true. Now, because many of these predictions, these outdated predictions that memory reconsolidation can update, were often formed in close relationships, like relationship with a parent or a sibling or whatever, then it makes sense, doesn't it, that the nervous system sees the familiarity in a close romantic relationship. And so all that force of history, all that emotional learning that has established these predictions that are operating in the here and now, it makes sense that that is all brought into the current relationship. And so you'll see partners arguing and getting very, very upset amongst things that in some cases might seem quite small. For instance, they never stack the dishwasher in the way that I'd like. And it's not really about the dishwasher. There's all this force of history that is activating the nervous system. So I suppose the reason why I'm saying this is because when people ask about the use value of memory reconsolidation and what kind of instances, I'm often asked about relationships because relationships are a big form of our life as an interactional species, like we are as humans. So, friendships, work colleagues, but particularly romantic, intimate relationships, those very close relationships. The effect, the impact of the old trauma, how I define it anyway, is going to show up in a big way in all of those things. And so when memory consolidation happens, what you can have then are those kind of disagreements, those misses between the people, those moments where the need isn't fully met. And that can be addressed in the here and now without it touching all of this stuff and this force of history happening. Now, the subject of the deep dive, now I've told you that memory consolidation has a huge impact in terms of relationships. The focus of the deep dive is how we actually do that as therapists and coaches, because when I make this clear, when people ask me that question and I make it clear that it does have a big role to play, the thing that comes up is that the couples therapists are wondering how on earth that they can implement some of the ideas in my book, for instance, and they might see some write-ins and it seems to be all about individual therapy. So how can you do mismatches, and how can you do memory consolidation when there's more than one person in the room? So we cover that in the deep dive. But also as well, the individual therapists have a different problem where they're saying, well, how can I deal with the problems within a couple if I've only got one person from that couple? You know, maybe the other person doesn't want to have therapy. So is the relationship doomed because I've only got one? And so what this covers is how to use the memory consolidation in both of those, and an underpinning as well around things like polyvagal theory, attachment theory, and all that kind of stuff as well. So the underlying message here is that memory consolidation has a lot of uses in a lot of different situations, but in particular, relationships between friends, colleagues, family members, and in particular, romantic relationships has a big, big impact once memory consolidation is successfully triggered. Now, if you want to dive deep with us and get that deep dive, which is all about how, as therapists and coaches, we can trigger memory consolidation, even if we don't have the other person in the couple, or from a couples therapist, if we're not focusing just on an individual, then you'll find that within the Trauma Removal Club at the moment. So if you want to find out more about that, just go to freshtherapist.com/join, follow the link below, and you'll be able to learn more about that. And if you've got any questions, of course, just pop it in the thread below. All right, so thanks for listening and take care and bye.